Welcome back to Streets of Rage 2. So, stage 5.
Yay.
Oh yeah.
And we're in a boat this time. Specifically, we're in the hold apparently.
How many resources does the Syndicate have?
As many as the story needs for there to be more games too.
well, Tio, you see Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. They had the resources to gas Tom Cruise and then record shop.
Take that, Godin.
Garam.
Oh, and this guy's name is Hart. Hart.
Oh.
Like.
Yeah. Imagine trying to make that sound intimidating. My name is Hart.
Maybe it's one of those boys that are like super beefed up, and they have the classic tattoo on their arm of the heart and the writing "I love Mama" or something like that.
Okay. Oh, it's
yeah.
God then. There you go. So basically, yeah, as you can see, everybody, the Rage 2 basically boils down to just refining the gameplay from the first one. There's not, aside from the changes I've already listed, it's still basically what you'd expect. It's mostly Streets of Rage 3 that doesn't really bring anything new to the table, and it just feels more like more of the same, to be honest.
I still actually had to play 4, but I can imagine, thanks to the presentation and all, it still does change a lot of things to the formula.
There's actually a retro version if you want to play everything in the Sega Genesis, guys.
I know for a matter that some of the character sprites are available in the 16-bit format. I don't know if the entire game.
No, not the entire game. However, you can play with retro soundtrack, which has tracks from the 3 original games. As going back to the points of censorship, the Streets of Rage 3's American censorship can go from stupid but understandable, but to just flat out baffling, because as we all know, Axel is known for his white shirt. He had it in the first game, he had it in this game, and he also carries it still in the 4th game. For some bewildering reason, the American team decided to change his shirt from white to yellow.
Because it's a yellow belly?
No, I don't understand that either.
Joe, maybe you can explain this to me. How is the color yellow in any way the color white in any way in need of censorship?
Maybe it was just a case of them wanting to make him more marketable at the time.
Well, yeah.
By having a yellow shirt?
It's kind of like when Nintendo... It's kind of like when Nintendo bitched with himself to decide what color Kirby was supposed to be.
Hey kids, check out this dude. This dude has this dude has a yellow shirt. That makes him cool and marketable somehow.
You would be surprised how common it was to change colors in different versions of games based on where they were released.
I understand that. It did, yeah.
Apparently, from what I can probably gather is that the most reasonable reason would have been different marketing, because different colors could score different emotions in different people. Yes, that was actually a research thing back in the day. I guess it's not as strange as what Americans did. Well, you ever heard the TV trope American Kirby is hardcore? Yeah. Oh, you should have seen some of the commercials. They turned Kirby into a badass in those.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one thing. Well, so you guys know, but the thing that fascinates me about that trope the most is when it's pulled in reverse.
Fog. When now we're fighting fog.
You mean how Japanese Sonic is cute?
Well, I mean, you take something from America and then put it to Japan, like how they made Crash cute, or for some reason.
These names, Satsura. Oh, okay, I got it, because it's a ninja. That's the thing, Joe, but the reason I'm confused about it is because when you check into the changes that these sequels got, it's pretty clear that it's because of censorship reasons, because it happened a lot back in those days. Like, we would see sprites with cleavage would get their cleavage covered and stuff like that, so it's pretty. You can tell that's the primary reason for these changes, and that's why the yellow shirt.
I understand that being the primary reason. I'm just wondering if maybe some changes may have had different reasons behind them.
Weird.
Hey, You know, companies could act weird like that back in the day.
It's in a way it's not too dissimilar because I am checking here. Apparently, it's stuff that involves that extend also to the game cover, and we have the infamous stuff like Bad Box Art, Mega Man as an example. People who know absolutely nothing about the game are tasked to do a cover portrait for the game based on little material they're presented with.
Balloon.
Maybe that's another case. Like, who knows? Maybe the localizers forced.
Oh, apparently. Okay, I think I have an idea. Apparently, one of the cover of probably one of the cover of one of the first.
I'm sorry, there must have been a mistake. This is not my Tyson's Punch Out.
I know. I was about to say he looks like that bald.
But why is he going on his tippy toes without shoes?
Maybe he's wearing shoes.
But no, I was checking. It may be possible because I actually have no idea how they look like. One of the covers for either 1 or 2 had Axel as with a yellow shirt and Blaze with white gym clothes, and probably Sega of America wanted to implement those in 3 because they thought that the audience would have expected to see them. But I'm literally just guessing, wild mass guessing. To be honest, that's the best game theory that I have right now.
That's probably the best theory we've got regarding the yellow shirts.
I don't know, like Axel's trademark look is a white shirt. You know, that's why he brings it out in 4. You know.
Let me actually check the covers properly. Go on in the meantime.
To be fair, Tio's referring to the covers, and you know, back then covers
more of a thing that like it may be possible that it was present in the cover, and then the localizers of 3 were like, oh, the covers like this, better implement them, so you know people get sucked in because of it. There we go. Right. The cover of first game that I'm noticing here as Axel with the yellow shirt and all.
That would make sense, seeing as how, you know, back in the day, covers were some of the best way you would get to know what a character was actually supposed to look like, as opposed to their 8-bit look. Hence why there was a lot of confusion regarding Mega Man back in his original days. Oh, and we go from the boat to the beach.
Well, I guess we just docked.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Joe, in the previous game we could summon the police cop car support on the fucking boat, so...
There you go. It is pretty brash. How brash?
Well, more like it belongs in the trash.
Geniosai, or Geniosar, whatever.
Geniosai.
Well, it doesn't matter. Soon he will be dead person because we knocked him down.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm not dead. You'll be stoned out in a moment.
Yeah, imagine that. That is actually my name. My name is not dead. And then he gets shot and is like, your name is now dead.
Boy, Genyusai has a lot of friends called Genyusai, apparently.
That's welcome to Beat 'em Up World, where you possess an infinite amount of brothers and sisters with your same identical name.
Of course.
I guess. Garcia is probably, well, it's both Garcia and Y Signal. Like some of the mooks from the first game to return, like Garcia, of course, being the more common mook who returns. Hey, Condor and Falcon, get it? Huh? Condor and Falcon. And Pheasant. And Condor, Falcon, and Pheasant.
Okay.
Because birds.
What about Phoenix, though? I mean, pheasant sounds
that's a mythological bird, Weaves. The birds described in these names are more down to earth.
And now we go to Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Oh yes, down to earth Streets of Rage, where we punch people and they bounce everywhere.
I mean, it's technically more grounded with a mystical bird that rises from its own ashes. But Weaves, there are certain degrees, you know, of what is considered real and not. You know, you can't just have an on and off switch.
That's the thing too. In Streets of Rage 3, we have robot duplicates. So
yeah, I know, and one of your characters is an actual cyborg. So I mean, talking just for now, Libs.
All right,
Blaze can perform Chun-Li's Kikoken maneuver.
Take that, Akuyo.
Wow, that guy is pathetic.
Well, like I said, Dwebs, my brother is exploiting the stun frames.
Okay, if I had to notice anything is the fact that those bags, the one on the street, were rendered really poorly. Their color palette gets confused very easily with the one on the street. They just have a simple thin border and that's it.
Well, they can't call the game Bags of Rage.
I'm actually looking forward to playing Streets of Rage 4 because back when we were kids, my brother would always pick Axel and I would always pick Adam when playing the first game. So now that Adam is back in the fourth game, we finally get to reprise that dynamic.
Oh, that's nice. Does it actually have online co-op?
It does, yes.
Cool.
I've heard a lot of people seem to really like that new female character with the guitar.
I don't know. Actually, still have to play for myself, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll check.
Alright, so let's continue. Yeah, these motorcycles. Yeah, fun fact. Streets of Rage 3 was originally gonna have a motorcycle section. However, it was deleted.
Oh.
Fortunately, the guys at RomHacking.net did make a Streets of Rage 3 a bare knuckle free director's cut.
Ooh, and let me guess, that includes the motorcycle sequence?
Yes, it's basically the original Japanese version translated, and they restored the deleted motorcycle sequence.
Also,
and that's the one I'll be doing. Yes.
Also interesting, the main composer of Streets of Rage 4, Olivier Derivière. I mean, that's how you say it.
Oh, I heard his name.
He also did the music for Remember Me.
Oh, he's the guy that also... Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I did for Remember Me and the Alone in the Dark reboot, which I argue the music is the best thing about it, so...
And look at that.
Tangled video game.
Getting lazy developers. I mean, first we had a Jet as a boss, then we had the Blanca Wolverine guy, now we have the two of them as the boss of this level. Getting lazy, guys.
They will have their revenge.
If you're interested to know, Pedro, he also composed for A Plague Tale. So can you say,
cool.
do you know how the music was?
The music is really good, actually. Yeah.
There you go. As far as I know, from the games that I played, but as even as composer so far, he has a perfect score for me.
Nice.
But just to check, Jovan, the character you were referring is called Cherry Hunter. I think it's Adam's daughter.
Yeah, I think Adam's.
I think so.
Adam's daughter is actually in the game. Yeah.
She has an interesting gameplay style with her guitar. Let's just say.
And we actually fight the Wise sisters, which are Mr. X's daughters.
They couldn't actually recycle Mr. X for a fourth time, especially what happens because with each every passing games, resurrecting Mr. X becomes sillier and sillier.
That's the faint tale. Like the Mr. X of the third game is not even the real Mr. X; it's a robot duplicate. So
yeah, and his actual minor appearance in Project Cross Zone 2 is even better. He actually he basically confirms that he implanted his consciousness inside one of his breaker robots.
Yeah, the game tries to the game's cutscenes do try to pose that as a big plot twist or some kind, but honestly, it comes across as nothing but just bells and whistles. When you get right down to it, the plot of Streets of Rage 3, for as much as the cutscenes try to make you think otherwise, the plot of Streets of Rage 3 still boils down to the same thing. Someone bad is fucking up shit, go kill. That's the that's the basic gist of it, really. Like, the cutscenes are just there to basically for bells and whistles.
It's sort of like with Mega Man. Oh, you think that this might be a new thing? Nope, I was behind it.
It's not even a Mega Man 10. Well, it's not even a Mega Man 4. Well, technically that started with 4, but it's not even a Mega Man 4 scenario, Jova. It's like they bothered to make full-blown cutscenes and have a full done intro with explosions and shit. So, and the music sounds all more dramatic. So it feels like the developers.
The entire premise, Jova, is that the Syndicate coming back actually tries to pin the blame on a series of accidents to Axel using the aforementioned, breaker robots.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those cases where It's there, but at the same time, the game never really goes into any kind of character development or any kind of significant developments of any sort, because Axel being framed doesn't factor in any meaningful way. He still goes along with the other guys and just beat the crap out of people, and like hell, we don't even see a scene of the government apologizing to Axel or anything. It's just thrown in there because literally
honestly we don't see much of the rest of the probably the rest of the world outside of the stages. Like, we don't know what the people think, what the government think, like you mentioned. I mean, keep in mind, it's a beat 'em up, so at the end of the day, it's only relative how much of lore building there is, but it would still be nice to have, like, even like Pedro mentioned, even like a minor cutscene, reincorporating what was mentioned in the initial narration.
It's not even just that too. Like, you bothered to, unlike the first two games, for the third game you've bothered to include a crap ton of cutscenes in comparison, so you might as well have had something going on in these cutscenes. Hey, so how many times have I fought this guy by this point?
Well, this is another guy, Pedro. It's not anymore Jet, it's called Griffiths.
And he's green. That makes him a completely different guy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, Captain Commando gets away with it by having a boss of it. It's basically three guys at the same, that are just a palace swap of each other, and yet they're an entire family, the Strum.
There you go. Jesus Christ. I will give it
coming out of the woodwork.
The interesting part is that this game still has, despite it still having a lot of reused sprites, the game still has a more variety than the enemies of the first game, because the first game, most of them were Garcia clones.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Sparrow. Huh?
all birds.
Oh, and the other one is called Iblis. I know it's Ibis.
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 It's based on a bird, an Egyptian type of bird.
So
basically, you know the god fought. You saw Gods of Egypt. You know the guy who did all the copies of himself, the big smart brain guy.
Oh yeah, the guy played by Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, that's supposed to be an ibis in his true form, a bird.
So yeah, now I've changed.
That bit had like the best scene of the whole movie.
So yeah, now I've changed from Blaze to Max. Max is the tank of the game. He's slow, but he has a lot of power. He's by far the strongest of the ones you can play as. Whereas Axel continues to be the Mario of the franchise, the guy who has
jack of all stats,
a jack of all trades. Yeah. So, take that, Soya.
Have you had enough yet?
I'll drop kick you to death.
There you go, Joe. But now this that my brother is doing right now. This is corner thing. Alright. And there you go, that was the elevator. Yeah, this game reuses a lot of the same stage concepts, like the elevator or a beach from the first game. So...
and now robots.
Particle and molecule. Ha 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 ha.
What about vegetable and mineral?
Starting to notice a pattern here. Two enemies who
it's a new Pokemon games. Pokemon Particle and Pokemon Molecule.
I'm starting to notice a pattern in the naming of these enemies. We have a group of enemies, and if they belong to a specific kind of enemy, they always have a name that's named after a specific motif. In the other guy's case, it was birds. In this case, it's chemicals. So there has to be some kind of common motif. Apparently, that was their thought process when naming these NPCs. These
sure.
mooks.
All right, who's next?
Well,
I think this is the final level.
Yes, this is the final stage. So we're about to defeat Mr. X.
Okay.
Oxygen. Oh, and this guy is Oxygen.
Oxygen, eh? So what next? We're gonna have a guy named Hydrogen, or carbon dioxide.
Like I just
Or
said,
a guy
Dibs.
named Krypton.
Like I just said, Dibs. Any reskin of this enemy will have a name that bears to the same motif. Like this guy, for example. The other,
You said Bear, and Bear Junior came up as
Yeah.
you said it.
I swear, unintentional. The other one that we fought as a boss was our Bear. Now this one is Bear Junior. Get it? Bear. So the common motif with this particular type of enemy is bears. So there was always a common motif in the naming of these mooks.
Jesus.
Yeah, Oh, yeah, sure. When I do that kind of tackle, I get said, "Don't break people's legs to him."
Context means everything. You're doing that not in the proper type of context.
I'm surprised it's not. I'm surprised it's not a species of mook that has a fruit motif. You could have apple, orange,
pineapple. That I guess that's well. I forgot, Pedro. Actually,
vulture.
Oh, vulture. I forgot, Pedro. Have there been like in this style the DBZ beat 'em ups like this?
Of this specific kind, not that I've played. Usually, I mean, remember too, Japanese people, when they looked at Dragon Ball Z, outside of there was the Super Butoden series, but for the most part, they prefer to make Dragon Ball RPGs. So,
true. So it's either RPGs. It's either RPGs or fighting games. Weird.
So yeah, Mr. Blanca Wolverine again.
Just with a blue armor. No, please. There was that. There was that OG Dragon Ball platformer, but when it was released in the West, it basically got a complete swap in terms of translation and everything.
Oh, son of a gun! There's literally a guy called Phoenix.
There you go, Dwebs. There's Phoenix.
Damn it!
Hey, look,
the ultimate warrior is back, and
only with a very high pressure.
Phoenix, you've been working out,
and the ultimate warrior seems like he's got a 10 apparently.
Or he has a problem, or he has a high pressure problem. You need to stop eating salt, dude.
His actual name is Z Kuzano.
Okay.
Is that supposed to be a play at Konami?
Not necessary.
I doubt it.
Press X.
So there you go. This has now become, Dwebs, a handicap match. Us against the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh my god.
Would you believe that?
Oh! Reverse suplex.
You cannot defeat the power of this true city, Max and Axel.
Honestly, I still have to. Well, I over the years I have formulated a proper idea of what the Ultimate Warrior comic is supposed to be about, but even still, I'm not. Oh, there's Mr. X with a henchman
and Shiva, yeah. First, that's it. Okay, this is another thing that you said. This game introduces Mr. X's right-hand man, Shiva. Yes, that guy that we're fighting right now. His name is Shiva. I don't get why he's named after Shiva, but whatever.
It's fancy. It's fancy because it's Eastern. That's the gist of it. Even DC Comics couldn't resist doing that.
I guess.
Get it? He'll shiv you.
No, it's more based on the Hindu deity Java, even though it was a peaceful deity for the most part.
He's actually, depending on which direction you go in the storyline of Free, because the Syndicate 3 actually has branching storylines with multiple endings. Depending on where direction you go, Shiva can turn out to be the ultimate villain of Free. But I'll show. We'll get to that when we get after this one.
Also, hey, Blazed.
There we go.
All right, Mr. X,
you're up. Wow, he doesn't even try to convince you to join his side this time.
No.
I guess he realized that that's not really going to work anymore.
All right, so Mr. X fights pretty much exactly like he did in the first game. He keeps using his Tommy gun.
Very cheap.
Funny, big guy like him, and the thing he uses is a gun.
Well, I guess he's savvy enough to bring a gun to a fist fight, I guess.
Kudos there.
Yeah, how come we're not dead yet?
Because it's a video game, Lips.
Also,
yeah,
you may have noticed the characters die multiple times thanks to that, because it's not just that powerful.
Yeah, but then they come back to life.
Have you ever
The power of quarters lives.
Still, Dribs, it was alive.
have you ever watched Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim movie? Like when you die, you turn into coins.
That sounds good.
There we go.
Well, I mean, is it any less weird than when you die, you turn into pixie, you turn into dust?
There you go. Yeah, Mr. X is not that hard. He's basically the same thing he was in the first game,
And
really.
so they say,
So,
thanks
did we throw him out a window yet
to
again?
vigilantes.
It's a Rage Heroes.
So, did we throw him out a window again? Oh no, we actually just killed them.
Stand on his
So
corpse again.
I have a question. How the hell did he come back to life in the first place? Because remember the game didn't establish that we failed to kill him and he survived unbeknownst or not.
Not
No,
just that,
the
the
game
cut
specified.
credit,
The game specified. Well, remember too. It's like in the first game we have these pictures.
There
like-
we go, there's Adam.
There's Adam. Well, remember too. This is how the ending of the first game went as well, with pictures. There was an actual text. It's only in the third game that they have text for the ending. But remember, the narration at the beginning specifically told us that Mr. X returned to life,
Yeah.
and yet we never apparently. So apparently he had Mr. X has multiple lives somehow. How the hell did
Maybe.
He has his
Maybe.
own quarters.
there's Max and Blaze?
All the details on every single fiber of the muscles of Max.
We spared no expense.
I love how Yuzo Koshiro for the credits he's just like, sure, let's insert these like Ace Attorney-esque music.
Well, remember.
It's the happy
Well,
ending, yeah.
well, to the music.
I know. It's just for a joke because it was released a decade before Ace Attorney.
Well, to the soundtrack of the first Ace Attorney, I wouldn't be surprised if there's genuine inspiration from Yuzo Koshiro's work, to be honest, because
I
it's very
know, but
reminiscent.
and I'm also kidding because man, I love this man's work for the most part.
Team Streets of Rage: Zozo, Todo,
Todo.
YKK, Hasi, and Kyoten.
Kyoten. Okay. I'm still interesting enough that the vigilantes brought a kid with a cap against a fucking Mr. X with a Tommy gun.
I know, right?
It's okay too, because they're a company.
Everything turned out well.
Yes.
Again, that kid helped in killing a guy.
Now you're
He's gonna have
implicated
it.
for murder.
It's okay, we did it for justice.
Great
Yeah,
justice.
sure.
So that'll go well
Great
with the guy.
justice.
Yes.
All right. So final thoughts.
So
I guess?
that was Streets of Rage 2. Definitely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. Again, like I said before, I think side-scrolling beat 'em ups aren't really my thing, but it looks alright. There, go on, Pedro.
Yeah, definitely a slight improvement over the first game in terms of presentation. However, I will say that I do kind of miss the car. I don't know, like I feel like that was a nice way to separate this series from Final Fight, and just taking the super move from Final Fight and other contemporary fighters at the time. I don't know, like I feel like the car, they could have somehow kept the car as a way to a unique mechanic to that would be unique to Streets of Rage, rather than just copying what the other games of this genre were doing, to be honest. So I kind of would have preferred if they had kept the car or something along in the same type. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, aside from that, and yeah, it could also do with a bit more creativity in terms of the enemy variety, because I get that the first game did this too, but like the bosses are flat out reused. The first game didn't reuse. Well, did it?
I think it did at some point.
I guess.
I'm pretty sure for some of the boss rushes.
Well, yeah, there was a boss rush in the last level, but that's I don't consider that a rehash, because a lot of games like to do boss runs in the last level, like Sonic Advance 2. So
Not to mention, they did also rehash some of those female fighters to be bosses, essentially.
Sure. Well, sure. They were bosses. You talk about the female fighters from the first game?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, they were female mooks just given boss self, if I recall correctly.
Well, no. Remember, they were bosses of the final, of the boat level of the first game, and then they returned as the final boss of the boss rush, but before we fight Mr. X in the first game. But whatever. The point is, I kind of, but at the same time, I kind of wish the game would have lived. I mean, by this point, the first game was a big hit. You'd think with a bigger budget, they would have been able to have a bit more of an enemy variety and not have to reuse as many mooks as the first game did. But whatever. Aside from that, but it's still a really solid beat 'em up. Like, I do kind of wish the game would have tried to keep its own unique traits instead of just being made to be more like Final Fight, because like, I don't know, like, I felt like I don't think keep Streets of Rage being Streets of Rage. I don't think there's no need for it to copy other things since it has its own unique things going for it. But yeah, it's still a really good game. It's not, I don't have as much nostalgia for this game as I have the first one, but it's still a really good game. I actually like it better than Free, because Free is kind of a mess. But go ahead, Teo. What do you think of this one?
It's an improvement over the first one, but it is pretty much more of the same. It does have the character variety going on for it, and the kick-ass soundtrack. But unless you're very enthusiastic about the first game too, you are not gonna find too much new things about the car power-up removal. I'm of two minds. Like, I like the idea of converting into something else in order to break the game too much or making it too much exploitable, but at the same time, it's like you said, making it too similar to Final Fight as a result. Maybe reaching a good compromise of some kind. Still, I like the idea of giving special moves to the characters, which helps give them more of an identity. It's just that it still needed something, just to keep a bit of the support, the idea of a support line from the first game, just in a more, balanced kind of way. And also, definitely at least a minor improvement over how the story is exposed, because seriously, Mr. X is back because, shut up, go beat the shit out of him with a kid. So, I'm not expecting Shakespeare, but at least the minor thing that, conclude the line that you started. That's pretty much it. Still, it has its reason to be at least almost on the same level as the first game for me. Next.
I'll go next. Overall, yeah, it's a fine game. It's more or less a lot of what made the first game good. I will say I kind of like Streets of 1 better, only because it stands out a bit more from Final Fight. Granted, giving each person their own super move is a nice form of customization for each of the characters, so it does help the character variety. So it's a bit of yin and yang here. Like I said, overall, I still prefer Streets of Rage 1, but not by a huge margin. Streets of Rage 2 is still a perfectly fine game, and it has a lavish soundtrack to go with it. Mm-hmm. And it's just overall beat 'em up fun. Have a ball.
Indeed. And now, everybody, it's time for us to, in the next part, we will go into what is considered to be the black sheep of the Streets of Rage franchise. Because, like I said, it has a messy story. Some of it's basically, gameplay-wise, it's basically just Streets of Rage 2 again. And the soundtrack, let's just say Yuzo Koshiro wasn't in his best days when he wrote that one. We'll get to it. See it for Streets of Rage 3 or Bare Knuckle 3. That's the one we're going to be doing, because I refuse to play Streets of Rage 3. Bare Knuckle 3 all the way. See ya.